first group of panelists are actually advocates in the field. And I thought about the programming for the day, thinking, you know, as a program manager, having put the program together at IBM, the first thing that really has to be thought through to be successful is what's in it for the employee. And every single program manager who is thinking about putting a program together, you need to contend with who to recruit, how to get them committed, but most importantly, what's in it for them. So I thought we would start the day with 3 practitioners who have been brand ambassadors for their companies. We have Mike Bruny. Come on up, Mike. And Mike Bruny, he goes by Mike Ambassador Bruny. He's actually been a brand ambassador and a creator of Hashtags to Handshakes. Mike served as one of Intel's most committed brand ambassadors on the Intel program. And during his time, Mike helped to align the vision and heart of Intel with the outside through his engagement at Intel. So really happy to have, and I met Mike online, which a lot of you I have met online, and thrilled to actually meet in person. So next we have Ben Brenneis. He is a product specialist and he works at Sprint. He's a Sprint ambassador in their Ninja program, Sprint Ninja program. Nice. And Ben loves all things phones and technology related, which led him to volunteer for the program, I believe. And in that program, he's been trained to engage in social media and has become an active blogger in the Sprint community. And he's passionate about sharing his experience with all new technology devices, anything that's mobile and you can fit in your pocket. Yep, nice. And then last but not least, we have Lewis Richardson from IBM. I've had the pleasure of working with Lewis for a number of years. He was part of our IBM Select program, which I engineered at IBM. Lewis is a longtime colleague and one of the most incredible evangelists for IBM that I know. He is not only a passionate storyteller, he's also an enthusiast and has his own brand presence and professional presence. And one of the things that's pretty incredible about Lewis is that he helped us actually shape our program through feedback and knowing, you know, how to reward people, how to help them be successful. He wasn't just a participant, he actually helped us to engineer it and make it better for really what they're here to talk about, what's in it for them. Okay? One person we're missing today, unfortunately, who could not make it is Brian Fanzo. I do want to recognize Brian. He had a client engagement come up, but I met Brian online through his engagement around social collaboration, and he's been an incredible evangelist for the space. And he's now with BroadSuite, and he is and continues to be an evangelist for employee advocacy as an ambassador for that company. So unfortunately, he's not here, but we'll get underway, okay?
Right.
Great.
Sounds good.
So I'm going to start, Lewis, with you. We have 3 short questions. We'll just have a conversation here. And most importantly, you know, really the vantage point is what's in it for you as an employee participant. And the first question is, what would you say has been the top benefit from your personal and professional perspective of participating in an advocacy program for your company?
Okay, so I think at IBM, when it came out that we were going to do this, and it came out in ways where they found people who had a voice already and said, we're going to help you amplify that voice. I think that was a benefit because people already knew how to speak out. For me, it became a way for my managers and for other people to actually see that there was this voice that you had, this impact that you had, both inside the company and outside the company, actually was relevant and interesting. It made you relevant and interesting to others. Prior to that, we were doing it because it was just the right thing to do. I mean, you just tell stories because that's just the way what you do. But the program itself helped recognize the power of those stories and what those stories meant, to the point where you were talking about shaping it. I never realized I aspect of shaping it, but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So if it's messed up, it's my fault. But the point being is now even Jenny Rometty, our CEO, has issued a brand challenge that said we want you to have a voice and to actually be a spokesperson for the company. And so for me, it's recognition. It's allowing me to amplify my creative spirit within the company. That's part of my job.
Ben, how about you?
So I started 5 years ago as just a regular rep at Sprint, and it was awesome because we got the opportunity to volunteer to start writing blogs or start talking about Sprint and start trying to be passionate about a company that we work for. And along the way, it really helped me network with people that I never would have worked with before. Sprint's a huge company, so everybody's kind of in their own little bubble. You're either, in sales, you're in care, you're in collections. But once we all got together and once we all started on the Ninja program is what we call it, we started having meetings, we started sharing ideas. I was even able to work with vice presidents in the company, executives, and they actually listen to what we say and to what we want because they know that we're kind of the voice of the company. And that as a regular employee who works for the company, if you're passionate about that, then you're going to help that brand overall. So for me, it was primarily about networking, working with people I never would have gotten to work with. It was awesome.
Before I move on to Mike, you just said something, Ben, that I think is pretty incredible, especially when you're at a distributed company like an IBM or a Sprint or a big, and it's meeting people you would have never been able to meet. And the collaboration that actually happens, working from anywhere at any time, but connecting to people and building relationships that is now possible. So I think that's certainly worth pointing out. Mike, how about you? What's been in it for you?
Well, for me, a couple of things. First, I was Ambassador Bruny before the program.
Okay.
Two, talking about...
To clarify that.
To clarify
Just
that.
making sure.
To look at the scope where you have a company that's kind of spread out. You had Intel here, mostly on the West Coast, and you had a couple of ambassadors on the East Coast. I was here on the East Coast. And for me, what it really did was, it reminds me of a quote from Einstein, which is, if you measure a fish by its ability to climb a tree, the fish will spend most of its time thinking it's stupid. I was at a point in my career where I was starting to feel like that fish, right? It was the ambassador program that kind of changed that for me. So I come at it from a different perspective, where I already had a lot of things I was working on from a social media perspective, a speaker, an author. This allowed me to focus it inside of work instead of outside of work. The second thing is one word, that's love. And it was the first time that I was able to, at that point, about 6 years of working at Intel, fall in love with Intel. Because the perspective changed, or the perspective I had at that point was about, hey, getting up every morning and having technology that is on a mission to touch the lives of everyone in the planet. You can get up for that. That's much different than what my prior mentality was, which is time to make the donuts. Two totally different things. So that's what was in it for me, love and being able to use skills in a setting that I currently was in.
Okay. All right, moving on. I love that you just said love, because what could be more authentic than actually loving something that you do, right? So when you think about reward and recognition for your program, think about what they just said, right? They talked about what they love to do for their job. They talked about wanting to engage with other people. And Lewis said recognition from not necessarily recognition in the sense of gamification. Certainly that's a capability, that's an important one in some instances, but recognition of senior leadership. And Ben talked about actually getting recognition and being able to speak to vice presidents he never would have been able to, right? That has, I would say, led the development of the way that we reward and recognize IBM employees. We did a lot with evangelizing their stories on the intranet. We created the Digital IBMer series where we told their stories. We told it from a business benefit, not just because they were becoming social, but actually the benefits to the business that gentlemen like this that were engaged actually delivered, right? So think about that when you are designing your program from their vantage point. The next question is a little bit the same, but from a different angle, okay? So what would you say is the top benefit for your company through your engagement efforts? So Mike, could we start with you?
Definitely.
Okay.
So I would say, the top benefit I think they got in Sabrina is here. So you can ask her if you don't believe me. But I think they honestly saved some money because they had someone who was already engaged. I was able to go to different engagements and show a human face, a human side of Intel. It's an ingredients company, so it's a little bit different. So the way that we approach things were a little bit different. But it's like, okay, it's not just all engineers. There's this other guy who can be smart and also connect with people at the same time. So I think that was the biggest thing that I was able to bring to the company is the whole shift to a human era. It's like, here's a guy who actually represents that for you.
What you're describing now is what I like to refer to as humanizing a brand. Really humanizing the work that you do, the products that you bring to market through your experience and sharing that and your expertise that you're sharing. Yeah. Ben, how about you?
So I completely agree with Mike. At Sprint, if you go to the Facebook page or if you go to their Twitter, you're going to get a very PR answer to everything. We can help you with this, we can help you with that, whatever. But once you start getting your employees to really care about the brand, and once you start getting them to want to work for you, then that's when they're going to go out there and they're going to be passionate about Sprint. They're going to be passionate about their job. They're going to want to come to work. It's not going to be a 9-to-5 thing. It's going to be, a shift from a job to a career. And you really can't pay, like Mike said, you can't pay for that kind of, whatever you would call it, just employees wanting to help out, employees really loving the brand. And that's what happened with me. I love Sprint. It's been my life for 10 years now, and I've been in the ambassador program for 5 years, and I love it. And I'll talk up about Sprint to everybody and anybody I see, and that's what they're getting from me.
And that was before you were in the advocacy program, but I think, are you describing that it became even more so because you felt that you had the freedom to express?
We had a group of people who could get our ideas together and really have an avenue to go out there and help people out without being PR, without being marketing. We had ways to do that.
All right, Ben is just describing something that I like to call your people don't want to be your marketing shills, right?
Yeah. Oh.
Let them share their knowledge, their expertise, whether they're a developer or in the product line, or if they're actually in sales, right? No matter what the function is, they don't necessarily want to carry forward your PR and marketing message.
Right.
That's a really important aspect of a successful program.
And customers don't want to see the same statement over and over again as well. They want to see the human side of it, as Mike said. So.
Right. So parroting messages over and over again, that's not what this is, right? Yeah. Louis, how about for you?
Well, I've worked for a number of companies before going to IBM, so 12 different companies. I've been at IBM longer than I've been with any other company. But I think one of the things that IBM realizes from this is it allows those disruptors, those fish, those people who sit there. Adobe did a study that said 4 out of 5 of us don't believe that we're up to our creative potential every day. We're not living up to that, and we feel stifled. And I know that Shirky did a thing on cognitive surplus. We all feel like we have something more to give. And what IBM's done is through this, they've allowed us to give more and to do more and to do things differently, because we do have slices of time, or we do have ways that we work smarter, and then that allows us to then put some emphasis on things that allows us to put our voice out there, to actually get out there and do and try some things. And it's nice when you have an advocacy program like that where a company is watching what's going on, so that you, in your normal course of your day, you put a message out, or you tweet something, or you put something out on SlideShare, and it gets feedback, and all of a sudden you see your own company amplifying that for you. Then it really makes you feel like, hey, my company's behind not just its voice, but my voice and my approach to it. The last thing is, I noticed that we've got an Intel and then Sprint and then IBM. How many of you in the room are in non-technology companies? Would you raise your hand? All right. So most of you you look at us and you think, well, they're a technology company. And one of the challenges that we have is when we put our voice out as IBM, many of you might disregard us and say, well, you're a technology company, you should be speaking to my IT people. And we at IBM actually helped you with that, because we took things like the ATM machine, that's one of our patents, so we took the teller out of the equation, voice response systems, so now you don't call a receptionist. We took people out in order to scale. Well, now we're putting people back into it through this, and so we're allowing our people actually to be that voice to say, this is reality. It's not about technology. Technology enables this, but it's about the cultural aspect of it. So I think IBM's benefiting from that, because people are beginning to see IBM now not as a computer company, but as a company that helps people work smarter.
And a leader in social business.
5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working in social business since 2007, so long time, and it's an incredible story and journey to have been on. There's another question here that I think is really important for the audience, and that is, as program developers, as people in the audience that are either thinking about or maybe have a program ramping up, or even one that's already well on its way, what is it that you would recognize as the most important piece of advice when they're trying to think through reward and recognition of the employees and their efforts to be part of a program? What would be the most meaningful reward and recognition advice that you could give a program manager? Anybody want to go with that one?
Sure.
Mike?
Sure, because this is actually something that I think about a lot. I spoke about being a speaker. I'm also a certified life coach, so I'm people bent. That's who I am. And when I think about recognition and I think about reward, I think about two things as I look at programs. One is paying attention to who these people really are, like recognize them. Their 9 to 5 is not to be ambassadors, if you will. They have other jobs. Recognize that. Get to know who these people really are. I think that's going to be crucial to show them that you understand what their day is like. The other thing that I jotted down there is, besides their work, get to know them as people. Get to know who these people are. I think that's going to be the thing that's going to make the biggest difference. How can you help them to become a brand, or as I call it, become a brand inside a brand, right? Because I think that is where that's going to change things for them, because you are helping them grow, and they're aware of that, and they're going to love you for it. And I think that's the best way to reward and recognize them.
So that could run the spectrum of, employee development, skills development, right? And being able to build new skills and being recognized for those skills. Because Greg Garrick and I were talking at lunch yesterday around the importance of employee engagement. And in addition to being recognized for those efforts, a lot of times we need to be rethinking the way that we're building skills of our workforce, right? So I think you're kind of touching on that.
Yeah, I mean, just to expand a little bit, the vision is to have a database and know about who these people are, what do they do for a living, and then also understanding where do they want to go. Because there may be opportunities as you look at the business needs, how does that match up? So there may be someone in Massachusetts that has something that they care about and they're passionate about, and aligns with another opportunity in Canada, which was something that actually came up for me to go to a conference. But are you aware of that? Do you have that information to know what their true skills and passions are, besides looking at from a perspective of sending out messages or parroting, as we say? Learn more about them so you can leverage and you can help them grow.
Yeah, and I think the tendency is a lot for us, because we're program managers. We tend to look at it as a program, and we go back to the historic things and we say, well, this is like credentials. We'll credit people to being social advocates or whatever. And you don't get a vision gets you. So you go find those people who have that vision, and as you said, you open it up and say, we're open to some ideas, and you find some people that are passionate about something, and you go with it, and you let them go with it. It's like a golf swing. The tighter you hold on to it, the farther off you're going to be. If you loosen your grip a little bit, which is hard for us to do as program managers, to actually loosen up a little bit and let things go, you'll see where the trends go, and then just start encouraging the right behaviors, encouraging the things that are working well, and people will catch on. So don't make this a method. Don't make this some kind of thing of, it's going to be a particular path. You need to just start. It's like a governance thing. You need to kind of get it out there, and then watch where things start to grow, and hoe where you need to and fertilize where you need to elsewise, and you'll see something blossom you'll never imagine up front what it's going to look like. You can't imagine it, but you've got to get in there and start doing it.
Yeah. How about you, Ben?
So as far as recognition goes, at least within Sprint, I think they do a good job of realizing that recognition is different to, different things to different people. They do a great job on the little stuff. They give, our ninjas go through different belts. They go through the white belt, the red belt, the black belt, and so on. And each time they graduate from a different level, they give them an avatar that they can use on our link client. So when they're IMing people within the company, all of a sudden the picture of them with their little red belt or black belt comes up, which is something that they enjoy being able to communicate. Hey, I am a black belt ninja, or I'm a red belt ninja. We also give out e-points where they can go and buy, Sprint swag on our website, and they can get the polos and they can get whatever else they want. And when you become a black belt ninja, when you've done, a ton of blogs, you've been helping out, they actually give phones to you, free phones, and that's what, it's a company, Sprint, so they're going to give you phones, and then they ask you just to go out and to demo it in the community. So I've been to Braves games, I've been to Falcons games, NASCAR races, and I go out there just as a regular employee on my own time, set up a booth, and then I show off different phones. So it can go from an avatar on your IM all the way to getting free phones and being sent to, awesome events that you've always wanted to. And I think that's what people see when they want to start with the program. They say, okay, I'm going to start here, but this is my goal and this is where I want to work to. And if you have the wide spectrum of that, then they're really going to want to do that.
Yeah, one of the things that Ben just described is offline presence, opportunity to be at an event where you can represent your company, what you're passionate about too. So it's a mix of online, of course, being engaged and collaborating there, but also the ability to be a face for your company offline in these events. And, being able to engage that way is really important. So great. We have a little bit of time for any questions that the audience might have. Is there anyone in the room that might have a question that you would like to ask? Yeah. You got the mic? Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Well, first of all, thanks, everybody. I had a question. My name is Bobby from Social Chorus, and I was curious to know, outside of the walls of your organizations, do you guys use your ambassador program for recruiting like new talent, like whether it's sharing job postings, or do you think that at some point this will be like a benefit of working at a Sprint or an IBM? Hey, we have a great advocacy program. Yeah. Thanks.
Oh, we actually have a program for onboarding and bringing in new clients. We have a thing called Soon to Be Blue. We use a social network inside the company and with our partners, and when we have a talent that we want to attract, or we bring them into the soon-to-be blue community so they can start interfacing with the expertise within the company. They can start seeing what their job might be like even before they sign papers. And then once they come in the company, it's a new to blue where we let them then start expressing themselves inside of IBM to the other IBMers as well. So we try to envelop them with the fact that your voice is important. In fact, we have a whole group of people they call Blue Sparks. They're brand new employees. We try to help them change us rather than us changing them. And so they're encouraged to go around and mess up stuff and ask why questions. And so those are always good things when you're allowed to do that. It helps bring the spark out.
Good.
And I know,
Go ahead.
I was going to say at Sprint, we use it as far as for new hires. We don't, I guess, recruit with the Ninja program yet. There is a little blurb about it if you're going to apply that there's different social media advocacy programs available. But once you're in the new hire training, we built a Ninja piece into that so that you can see potentially where you could go within Sprint outside of just your normal job.
Cool.
Good. I think we have another question. Chris is busy. No, I'm going to come over to you. Go ahead. You're very welcome.
Hi, great panel. I'm Michael Adrianopoulos from People Links. And my question is, as I look at you guys and I hear the way you talk about your jobs and your companies, you're clearly mavericks, right? You're clearly kind of not mainstream, typical average employees in your organizations. So my question is, when you think about employee advocacy, is this the exception rather than the rule? Is this 2% of the organization, 5% of the organization, 10% of the organization, or is this something that scales even to the mainstream employee?
I think it's about 20% of everybody. We all have a bit of a wild duck in us. We all have a bit of this wild. It's the idea of some of us have 20%, some of us have 60%, some of us appear to be 100%. And those that are 100% pop out like us, maybe, that say we're mavericks. But our goal is to try to get those who have 20% just to do 30 or 40. Because everyone wants to do more, and it's in all of us. I'm a creativity advocate, and we're all creative. We're all born to be creative. The challenge is to remain creative as we grow up, as Picasso said. And so it's that taking that and pulling that out of people. So I don't think it's a matter that there are those people that are kind of strange. I think it's a matter that we're all a little bit strange, and it's just a matter of pulling that out of each of us.
And to add to that, as far as within Sprint, there is a smaller population of employee advocates that we're trying to make larger, but it's pretty awesome and pretty surprising to see how much a small group of people can really get the word out. You know, you only have so many different social media sites, so if you have 100 people within your organization or 200 people, if they're passionate about it and they get that word out there, then it would do the same as if, 20,000 people were going out there. It just depends. You have to go find the people who are willing to put in the extra time, because not everybody wants to do more than just the 9 to 5. So once you go find those people, you train them and you give them the tools, then they can speak pretty much for your whole company, even if it is a smaller group of them.
Like, I see it as the bell-shaped curve with the early adopters, early majority, late majority, and then there's people who just won't be part of it. But my stance on it is really going back to love them first. Love them first. Go back now and start asking people, what are you working on? Get to know who the employees are. The more you know about them and the more you support them, then it's easier for them to say, you know what, this company did this for me. They're not going to leave, which is the other thing that comes out. But they're going to be like, this company took care of me. And now there's this opportunity for me to share that word. People have been talking about their job forever, but now I have a different narrative, a different story to share. I'm going to do that. That's how I see it.
Mm-hmm. I think we have time for one more question if anyone has one. Yeah, Makan, I'll come to you.
The other one, you can ask that anytime. We'll ask. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Okay. My name is Mukund Krishna. I'm from a company called Suyati out of Chicago. My question is, for advocacies to be successful, we need a lot of great content, right, that we deliver to employees that they can share and propagate. So how would a company go about doing that to constantly create, interesting stuff?
We ask our employees to create content for us. In our early stages of social business, we had a guy in Japan who was an English speaker, and he created a series of YouTubes called The Man Who Should Have Used Connections, which is our product. And they were some of the best materials ever, and we used them all over. And people go, that's great marketing. I said, the guy does not in marketing. In fact, marketing wanted to hire me. We said, don't, you'll ruin him. Because he's really doing, so ask the people who are out there to help you, help give their own content. You can give them some ideas, you can reward them for it, like I said, amplify their voice. But we have homegrown content.
I think you also have departments. I mean, you can start to pull on departments that focus on it. After Lewis's answer, I don't know if you want to talk to people in marketing.
Yeah, you can.
Being able to pull that, you have the employees, you have people who work in specific departments that are already doing content. Then it's being the bridge to content, not just homegrown, but also looking at what's the interesting content that reflects you as the bridge that's providing this to your audience. So being able to be a curator as well, and doing that well, and leveraging the sites that help you to do that. So there's a lot of automated stuff that can do that too.
Great. Awesome. What a way to open the day. Hearing it from advocates in the field, right?
Fun.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I think it